first got there, I initially thought it was a drug raid. Everybody looked calm. Nobody was frantic about anything. I saw everything taped off, and I thought I saw...
Robert Alan Fratta spent over 26 years on death row, his life ticking down to a final moment. But to understand how a Missouri City police officer ended up facing a lethal injection, we need to rewind to the beginning, where a troubled path started to form. Before we proceed, please like and subscribe to be part of our community, and drop a comment of where you're watching from. Robert Alan Fratta was born on February 22, 1957, in a quiet corner of New York before his family moved to Texas. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, Robert's early years seemed ordinary on the surface. His father, an Italian immigrant, worked long hours, while his mother juggled raising Robert and his siblings. But beneath the normalcy, cracks were forming. Court records later revealed a family history of mental illness and alcoholism that cast a shadow over the household. Robert's father was strict, sometimes volatile, and the home wasn't always a safe place. Did these tensions plant the seeds for what was to come? As a kid, Robert was bright but restless. He did well enough in school, showing a knack for academics, but he craved attention. Teachers noticed he could be charming one moment and quick-tempered the next. By high school, he was clashing with peers, getting into fights over small slights. There's no record of serious crimes in his youth, but small acts, like sneaking out or swiping things from local stores, hinted at a disregard for rules. His family struggles didn't help. Money was tight, and Robert's father's drinking worsened over time. Court documents later mentioned discrimination Robert faced because of his Italian heritage, which left him feeling like an outsider. He carried a chip on his shoulder, masking insecurity with bravado. A psychiatrist who evaluated him years later pointed to these early years, noting how the loss of his father to illness and his mother's miscarriage hit him hard, leaving emotional scars. By his late teens, Robert was chasing a better life. He threw himself into fitness, bulking up and using steroids, which some experts say fueled his aggression and impulsiveness. He dreamed of being a hero, a cop or firefighter, and he made it happen, joining the Missouri City Police Force. On the outside, he was a success, a job, a uniform, a purpose. But inside, something was off. His need for admiration and his intense personality were starting to show cracks. What would happen when life didn't go his way? As a public safety officer, he wore two hats, police officer and firefighter, a demanding role in the small city about 20 miles southwest of Houston. To colleagues, he was a charismatic figure, muscular, confident, and quick to flash a smile. His job included patrolling neighborhoods, responding to emergencies, and putting out fires, both literally and figuratively. On paper, he was a model officer, serving a tight-knit community and earning respect for his physical prowess. Fratta's police training gave him a deep understanding of law enforcement tactics, which later raised questions during his 14-hour interrogation for his wife's murder. Prosecutor Kelly Siegler noted his ability to stay calm and deflect questions, suggesting his experience as a cop gave him an edge in navigating the legal system. This wasn't a red flag at the time, but it hinted at a calculating mind. Was he using his training to hide something? By the late 1980s, Fratta's personal life started bleeding into his professional world. His marriage to Farrah Fratta was unraveling, marked by a bitter custody battle over their 3 children. Colleagues noticed his preoccupation with personal issues, though no official complaints surfaced in news reports. However, his obsession with bodybuilding and steroid use, confirmed in court documents, was a growing concern. Steroids can fuel aggression and impulsivity, traits that don't mix well with a badge and a gun. Did his department miss these warning signs, or were they just part of his tough guy persona? Fratta's behavior off-duty raised eyebrows too. He was known to frequent strip clubs and pursue extramarital affairs, which clashed with the image of an upstanding officer. These details, reported in outlets like the U.S. Sun, came to light during his trial, painting a picture of a man whose personal life was spiraling. His sexual desires, described as extreme by those close to the case, reportedly disgusted his wife, fueling their marital discord. Farrah Fratta was a vibrant 33-year-old mother of 3, living in Atascocita, Texas, just outside Houston. Born in 1961, She was known for her warm smile and boundless energy, the kind of person who lit up a room. A dedicated employee at American Airlines, Farrah balanced her career with raising her two sons, Bradley and Daniel, and her daughter, Amber. Friends described her as vivacious, always ready with a laugh or a kind word, but fiercely protective of her children. She loved music, dancing, and dreaming of a stable future for her kids. Despite the chaos of her crumbling marriage, Farrah was determined to build a new life, one where she and her children could thrive. Farrah met Robert Fratta in the early 1980s, drawn to his charm and ambition as a Missouri City public safety officer. They married after a whirlwind romance, and for a while, their life seemed picture-perfect, a growing family, a home, and shared dreams. But beneath the surface, tensions brewed. Robert's controlling nature and extreme behavior clashed with Farrah's independent spirit. By 1994, their 11-year marriage was unraveling in a bitter divorce and custody battle. Farrah wanted out, seeking custody and child support, but her decision to speak openly about Robert's personal behavior during divorce proceedings enraged him. On November 9, 1994, at 7:38 p.m., Farrah Fratta pulled her car into the garage of her humble area home after a quick trip to get a haircut. Across the street, neighbor Laura Holscher was nursing her infant son, Caleb, when she heard a faint pop. Peering out her window, she saw Farrah's car in the garage, but something felt wrong. Moments later, another pop echoed through the night. Farrah never got out of her car alive. She had been shot twice in the head with a .38 caliber Charter Arms revolver, a weapon later traced to Robert Fratta. Her body lay motionless on the garage floor, her purse untouched, ruling out robbery. The murder was no random crime. It was a calculated hit. Robert Fratta, embroiled in a contentious divorce, orchestrated a murder-for-hire plot. Prosecutors later revealed he hired Joseph Price Dash, a middleman, who enlisted 18-year-old Howard Guidry to pull the trigger. Fratta promised Price Dash a Jeep and paid Guidry $1,000 for the killing. The motive was chillingly clear. Robert wanted to avoid the financial burden of child support and alimony, and he was furious about Farrah's public statements during their divorce, which exposed his private behavior. To cover his tracks, he crafted an alibi, attending church with his children that evening, believing it would shield him from suspicion. As Farrah lay dying, neighbors rushed outside after hearing the shots, but the shooter had vanished into the night. Laura Holscher's frantic 911 call captured the horror, her voice trembling as she reported the crime unfolding across the street. The scene was eerily clean, no signs of a struggle, just Farrah's lifeless form. Investigators later pieced together the chilling precision of the act. Guidry had waited in the shadows, striking the moment Farrah was alone. The murder left 3 children without a mother and a community in shock. The murder of Farrah Fratta on November 9, 1994, set off a relentless investigation that zeroed in on her estranged husband, Robert Alan Fratta. Detectives immediately suspected him. His bitter divorce and custody battle with Farrah screamed motive. But suspicion wasn't enough. They needed hard evidence. The neighbor, Laura Holscher, became the first key witness, reporting to police that she saw a man dressed in black, later identified as Howard Guidry, fleeing Farrah's garage after 2 gunshots. She also saw a getaway car driven by another man, later confirmed to be Joseph Price Dash. This wasn't a random crime. It looked planned. But how would police tie it to Fratta? Investigators dug into Fratta's life. His behavior raised red flags. He showed no grief after Farrah's death, swaggering confidently during questioning, as reported by KHOU. Detectives searched his car and found $1,000 in cash in the glove compartment, the exact amount promised to the hitman, according to court records. At his gym, over a dozen workout buddies told police Fratta had openly talked about wanting Farrah dead, even asking if they knew anyone who could take care of her. One friend recalled Fratta saying, "I'll just kill her, and I'll do my time, and when I get out, I'll have my kids." The breakthrough came in March 1995, when Howard Guidry was arrested for an unrelated bank robbery. Police found a .38 caliber Charter Arms revolver in his backpack, the same type used to kill Farrah. Federal firearms records showed Fratta had bought the gun in 1982, and Farrah's father confirmed he'd returned it to Fratta in 1994 after Farrah gave it to him for safekeeping. Then, Mary Jip, Pristash's girlfriend, dropped a bombshell. She told police Guidry was the shooter, hired by Pristash, who was working for Fratta. Both men confessed, implicating Fratta in the murder-for-hire plot. On May 2, 1995, police arrested Fratta at his home. He didn't run or resist, maintaining a cool demeanor, as seen in KHOU footage where he smirked at cameras. He never confessed, insisting he was innocent, even when confronted with the gun and witness statements. During his 14-hour interrogation, described by prosecutor Kelly Siegler as a masterclass in deflection, Fratta used his police training to dodge questions. His first trial in 1996 was swift. Jurors took just an hour to convict him of capital murder, based on the gun, witness testimonies, and his accomplice's confessions. He was sentenced to death, but a federal judge overturned the conviction in 2007, citing inadmissible evidence from Guidry and Pristash. A retrial in 2009 sealed his fate again, with his own children testifying against him, calling him Bob, and describing his lack of remorse. For over 26 years, Robert Fratta lived in the Allen B. Polunsky unit in Livingston, Texas, one of the state's harshest death row facilities. Life here was grim. 23 hours a day in a 6 by 10-foot cell, with concrete walls, a single window, and a steel door. Inmates got 1 hour for recreation in a caged area, alone. Meals were basic, slid through a slot, and contact with the outside world was limited to letters or rare visits. Fratta, once a confident cop, was now just a number, stripped of his badge and freedom. Fratta's behavior in prison was a mix of defiance and charm. He maintained his innocence, filing multiple appeals, including claims that prosecutors withheld evidence about a hypnotized witness and an immunity deal for Mary Jip. All were denied, with courts upholding his 2009 conviction. In a 2023 interview with Death Penalty Action, he called the death penalty torturous, saying it was enlightening to endure the prolonged wait, knowing his execution date. Yet, he showed no remorse for Farah's murder, focusing instead on his own suffering. Did he truly believe he was wronged, or was this another act of manipulation? He spent his days reading, writing letters, and reportedly seeking attention. In July 2022, he allegedly posted on the Right a Prisoner website, inviting female friends to witness his execution, a move that shocked victims' advocates, per the Houston Chronicle. His interactions with guards and inmates were minimal, but his daughter Amber, who visited him once in 2008, described him as cold, grinning with no emotion when she confronted him. She left after he suggested she seek Christian counseling, feeling he hadn't changed. Fratta did have a spiritual advisor, Barry Brown, who prayed with him before his execution, but there's no evidence he found religion or sought redemption. As his execution date neared, Fratta joined a lawsuit with other inmates, arguing Texas used expired lethal injection drugs, claiming they could cause a painful death. The suit delayed his execution by hours, but the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals overturned the injunction, and he was executed on January 10, 2023. In his final moments, he offered no apology, no glance at his son or Farah's brother watching from the gallery. On January 10, 2023, Robert Alan Fratta woke early in his cell at the Allen B. Polunsky unit in Livingston, Texas, facing the last day of his life. The morning was quiet, the air heavy with the weight of what was coming. Death row protocol allowed him little freedom. He stayed in his 6 by 10-foot cell, likely reading or writing, as he often did. Guards kept a close watch, noting his calm demeanor, according to Texas Department of Criminal Justice, TDCJ, records. Around mid-morning, Fratta met with his spiritual advisor, Barry Brown, who prayed with him, offering comfort in his final hours. No family members visited, but his son Bradley and Farah's brother were expected in the witness room later. At noon, Fratta was moved to the Death Watch cell at the Huntsville unit, known as the Walls unit, a 45-minute drive away. This was standard for Texas executions, giving him a small space to prepare for the end. He was allowed to meet with Brown again, and TDCJ staff noted he remained composed, even chatty, showing the same charisma he'd used as a cop decades earlier. For his last meal, Fratta didn't make a special request, as Texas had stopped offering customized meals in 2011. Instead, he ate the standard prison fare, a meat patty, vegetables, and a roll with water to wash it down. As evening approached, the execution process began. At around 7 p.m., guards led Fratta to the execution chamber, a small room with green walls and a gurney at the center. Witnesses gathered behind a glass window. Bradley, now 35, and Farah's brother, their faces solemn, stood with state officials. Strapped to the gurney, Fratta was given a chance to speak. His last words, reported by the Houston Chronicle, were defiant. "I am not the man that did this. I'm not that person anymore." He offered no apology, no mention of Farah or his children. The execution method was lethal injection, Texas's standard since 1982. At 7:40 p.m., the drugs, pentobarbital, a powerful sedative, began flowing through and in Fratta's arm. His eyes closed, his breathing slowed, and within minutes, he was still. At 7:49 p.m., a doctor pronounced him dead. The room was silent, the witnesses processing the end of a 26-year saga. For Farah's family, it was closure, but also a reminder of their loss. Did Fratta's death bring them peace? Or would the pain of that November night in 1994 linger forever? Robert Alan Fratta's story ends here, a tale of choices that led to tragedy and a family forever changed. Farah's life was taken, but her memory lives on through those who loved her. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Let's keep the conversation going.